All senior communities are not created equally. Those songs that work well for one audience isn't always going to work well for another one. In today's video, we're going to talk about the differences between each community and how those needs for entertainment are different. I've been playing for senior communities for about 10 years, and I've discovered that there are 5 different main types of senior communities that you can find yourself playing at. And the first is an independent living, assisted living, then you have skilled nursing, rehabilitation, and memory care. And depending on the needs of the residents, the community serves those needs in a very specific way. And as an entertainer, we find ourselves going into a community, we want to really pay attention to the type of residents and their needs that we're playing for. The first one I want to talk about is independent living. And this is a community where the residents need the least amount of help. They might be just a parent or a brother or a sister that has recently transitioned into a community, they sold their house, and now they're living in an independent living community when they can pretty much take care of themselves. This type of an audience chooses to be at your show. Typically, they give the residents at an independent living community options for different types of programs. There could be someone coming in and talking about animals and nature. There could be somebody coming in and teaching something. There could be an entertainer or a musician or somebody coming in that educates them on something new. Perhaps it's a cooking class, or maybe there's a movie, or maybe there's an outing. There's lots of different options. You're getting the idea. And as an entertainer going into an independent living community, you want to be aware that this audience is really just with it with everything. They're very social. Residents are very active, and they want to be entertained and charmed. And with this type of audience, I've found that you can get away with playing songs that are not exactly mainstream and particularly more complex. For example, when you go into an independent living community, you can play songs that are more dynamic. If you're a player that likes to do more instrumental songs, or perhaps you like to tell a lot longer story in your songs, perhaps you like to do 4 or 5 verses in a specific song and do the whole thing with an audience that is with you every step of the way. This audience wants to be entertained in a way that obviously keeps their attention, but you can get away with doing lots of different things. You can try country, you can try classic rock, you can do oldies. I've found that in an independent living community, you can get away with playing 80s music or even 90s music, and residents can really stay with the song. I was doing a fun show the other day. I was doing some James Taylor, and I switched from James Taylor and I played Neil Young's Harvest Moon. And it just went over really, really well. I could feel the vibe in the room, and one of the ladies came up to me after the show and told me how much that song meant to her. And if you can play to this audience and just give more of a variety, I think that typically goes over really well. You're not necessarily constrained to playing for a specific age range or an age group, because in an independent living community, there's a huge spectrum of ages. There could be residents that have just moved in who are in their late 60s and early 70s. And you could also have residents who are completely fine taking care of themselves in the late 80s or even 90s. They don't need help, and you're playing for them. So a wide range of different music and genre will work well for this audience. Just try a song here, see what lands, then go for a few more with that artist. If I'm playing a Jim Croce song, if I play Time in a Bottle, and I switch from that to Operator, and then I'll play I'll have to say I love you in a song. If one song works with an artist and you get a good vibe from the audience, typically you can do another song from that artist and another song from that artist without you worrying to lose the audience. An independent living community is with you through that whole show, and you can talk to them at a normal speed and normal, just like you would be conversing with a really close friend. This audience, you really don't need to make any compensation for. and just have fun with the show. And you can feel good with, telling stories and telling jokes. And they're probably going to land better than you think, especially if you're used to playing for assisted living or memory care communities. This type of audience, you can keep their attention for a lot longer. So have fun with them. And in my opinion, this is one of the most enjoyable shows to do. The second type of community we're going to talk about is assisted living. And throughout this video, we're going to go from residents who need the least amount of help to residents who need the most amount of help. And we're just going to go down this list. And the top is independent living, and now we're going to talk about assisted living. This group of residents is a little bit more limited. Physically, you might see some residents in wheelchairs or walking around in walkers or in canes. Also, there may be some limitations with your cognitive ability and just being able to process different songs and different types of things. You might see that ability begin to decrease a little bit. At assisted living community, I find that there are a mix of residents who are in wheelchairs, or they may be sitting in different types of chairs, maybe a little bit more comfort. Sometimes they're reclined a little bit. Sometimes residents come in on their own and they're completely fine and they sit down. This type of audience, I tend to play songs that are a little bit slower and a little bit more comforting. I try to emphasize more of the sentimental songs and try to get a read on the room and complement whatever vibe is in the room. Sometimes there's a jukebox that's playing in the corner and it's playing some like Johnny Cash stuff. So I might open up with a Johnny Cash song. I might walk into a room and it might be just full of sunlight just pouring in, and residents are in comfy chairs and some of them are just looking out the window. So I might start the show with You Are My Sunshine. A lot of my shows, I try to start with something very gentle. And with an assisted living community, I think that's always a good bet. Just slowly bring them on board. I might play You Are My Sunshine, then It's a Wonderful World, then Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And then after those first couple songs, I get a read of the room. And then now that I notice that everybody is kind of brought into the show with me, I can begin introducing myself and talking about how much I love music. Maybe I'll tell a story about the day. Maybe I'll tell a story about my big fat cat that is at home and loves to hear me tune up my guitar and play these songs. Some residents might get up and leave. Some residents might be brought in. With an assisted living community, I think it's the beginning of those times where you start to see distractions. For example, nurses may be coming in and administering medicine. There may be caregivers coming in and talking to each one of the residents and kind of getting an idea on how they're feeling or what they need. Maybe they need to be brought to the bathroom. Maybe they need, something else. Maybe this lady needs some water. Maybe he needs some help getting up out of his chair. As an entertainer playing for pay at a community like this, we need to embrace all these situations and understand that the staff still needs to be working and giving the best care to these residents, even during the middle of your show. And sometimes there are residents that are sitting in the front row and they're having a great time, and then all of a sudden a nurse comes in and takes them away. And I've found through just doing so many of these shows that it's not because they don't like the show or they don't like you. It's typically maybe a resident has got a visitor or somebody has come in to visit them, and then she's wheeled away and she may be coming back, or she may be taken to an activity to help with her physical therapy. We need to work through these distractions and don't necessarily give this distraction energy. Let this lady go or let this gentleman go and just kind of embrace this whole moment. As soon as you give that moment energy, or you start paying attention to the dump truck that is emptying the dumpster out there, and you start looking at it and you say, are they supposed to be out there? Is that a tow truck? Do I need to worry about them towing or moving my car or something? No, we want to focus on the audience. Always take a read of them and just pay attention to where they're looking, if they're smiling, if they're with you, if they're tapping their toes. These are signals to either bring the show up a notch and play a slightly faster paced song, or kind of tone it down a little bit. I found that when you're playing for an assisted living community, it's really a good rule of thumb to start gentle and pick up the show as necessary. Like by the middle of the show, I might be playing like a couple of maybe upbeat country songs. And at the very end of the show, if everybody's still with me, I might end it with Sweet Caroline, or I might pick maybe Blue Suede Shoes, or a song with a little bit higher energy toward the end of the show after I've established that series of like gentle songs. I play the guitar and I also play a little bit of harmonica, and I don't usually start with the harmonica, but I get a read of the room, and if everybody's still with me, it's a completely different tone with the guitar and things. I typically leave that to the end of the show. And some residents really love it. Some residents absolutely do not. You hear them just like going like this, and you're like, oh my God. So you play just a little bit of the harmonica. You got to try out stuff and see what lands. Every audience is a little bit different. I always love to engage with my audience and ask them questions and tell them stories and tell them jokes. And what works at an independent living might not work really well at an assisted living community, because the residents are going to have limitations as far as movement. And a joke, or residents might also have disabilities or limitations when it comes to hearing things. So if you tell a story or if you tell a joke and you get to the punchline and then it doesn't land with them, don't feel offended, or if that joke doesn't particularly work. It's just go on to the next thing. They didn't hear you, they didn't understand you. Just make the whole show flow really well and compensate with your attitude. Always be smiling, always have a gentle tone, and treat this audience like they're your friends and your family. Assisted living residents can really, really pick up on the emotional level with where you're at. So if you're playing a song and you're happy playing it, even if you forget the words or verse, just make that delivery like very happy and go through it like you're having a great time, and they always pick up on that energy. The third type of community you might find yourself playing at is a skilled nursing and rehabilitation community. And this is a place where residents have the majority of a lot of physical limitations. I find myself playing to an audience where 90% of the residents are in wheelchairs, and they're just row after row after row of wheelchair. There are physical limitations, there are cognitive limitations, and there is a spectrum of ages. Residents may be there simply to rehabilitate, and then they may be going home. Residents may be there for a lot longer time, or maybe they might be there for typically the rest of their life. A skilled nursing and rehabilitation community has a large age range, 50s, 60s, and residents who are well into their 90s and need a lot of extra help. Always start songs that are gentle and slow down your speech a little bit and slow down your stories. And every transition that you make from one song to another, I find it good to create an introduction to it. Like, this is the song that I'm going to be playing. This is why I think that you'll love it, and go into it. A sing-along works really well with skilled nursing and rehabilitation. Everybody is going to be singing. Some residents are going to be really with you. Some residents aren't going to be with you. You're not going to be able to please everybody at the same time, but you can create enough variety to match all those different age ranges. I might start with You Are My Sunshine. Everybody knows this song. We're starting up with this song. We're going to get everybody singing along. Here we go. We might start with a slower song. Maybe we'll do Can't Help Falling in Love with You, or Que Sera Sera, and get everybody at the beginning singing along. Then go into different genres and maybe faster songs. I might play like a James Taylor Fire and Rain, and then I'll jump over to a Johnny Cash song, Ring of Fire, and then I'll go back and do an older like a Patsy Cline song, or even a Hank Williams song, and just kind of get the vibe and just touch these different varieties and these different decades of music, and just kind of see around there, because there's so many different age ranges. You don't know exactly what's going to work with it. And again, you're not going to please everybody. You just got to have some fun with the show. And I always approach every audience, whatever community you're at, lightheartedly. And I always keep in mind, I'm going to have fun. This is going to be an awesome show. I'm going to shine love and light on them to the best of my ability. And when I go in with that attitude, I find it just really resonates with them, and they can feel what you're feeling. You'll learn this if you're just doing a couple of shows a week, or if you're brand new to performing and you start to gain a little bit of experience. You start to understand that whatever emotions you're bringing into that community, you're going to eventually draw from your audience. A nursing and rehabilitation community can have a really short attention span. That's why I try to keep the songs short and familiar and sing along type, and then transition to the next song. And then just try this one here, try this one here. I might throw in the harmonica in the middle of the show, then I might do a little bit of Tennessee Ernie Ford 16 tons. I might tell a story of why this is important, and even play some 90s music, perhaps a little bit like of Harvest Moon, Neil Young again. I don't know too much 90s music, maybe some John Denver stuff. Um, but I can get away with playing a wide variety of music with the nursing and rehabilitation. So have fun, try some stuff. I recently did a show and did some Kansas. I did some Dust in the Wind, and that worked over really well with a skilled nursing rehabilitation. That smooth little acoustic opening to the song. That smooth little acoustic opening to the song. And I find that if you can kind of play the song and just talk over it just a little bit as you're getting set up, as you're looking at everybody, that gets everybody with you before you start the lyrics. Close my eyes. And then you go into that song. It's such a pretty song. Even if the residents don't know the song that you're playing, if it's pretty and it has like a nice little opening, and it's just pleasant to play and pleasant to listen to, even if they don't know the song, I think that they're pleased with the performance. So try different things with this audience. Memory care communities are my absolute favorite to play for, because a lot of the show I find myself being overly happy and overly positive, and I'm just kind of entertaining myself and just kind of going with it, going with the flow, because this audience is very, very limited as far as cognitive ability and a wide range of dementia. Uh, I find myself going in with the absolute best attitude, super happy, cracking jokes, trying to find that line between being funny and entertaining and patronizing. You don't ever want to patronize them. Like, this isn't a group of children. Although their minds and their physical and cognitive limitations may suggest that they're kind of closer to that state of a child, but these are people that have lived so long and have so much experience living, and I never want to disrespect them by treating them like a child. We always want to go in there with a happy, upbeat attitude and treat this audience like they are grown adults. Even if your jokes don't land or your songs don't work, we go in there, we're going to give everybody the best show. Familiar songs, sing-along songs, songs that are slower, songs that get them to kind of remember things. I might do a Hank Williams song, "Hey Good Lookin'." I might do "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." I might do "These Are a Few of My Favorite Things." Songs that are very familiar, but you can get away with the range of the tempo. You can play a faster song, or like you could do like a Blue Suede Shoes, and then you can mix it up and do even a James Taylor "Fire and Rain," and just get those different vibrations. Just play the familiar parts. Don't stretch out one song up for a particularly long time, because their attention span is very, very short. With a memory care community, it's all about emotion, and it's all about your energy level and your attitude. I always tell jokes and am telling stories and am sharing a lot about myself. And oftentimes I find there is no reaction at all. There is nothing. There's complete crickets and there's complete silence. That's where the professionalism comes in as a performer, because I almost expect everything not to land well. But that leads into the next song. And that leads into this song. And maybe I'm strumming a few chords as I'm talking to them. Some memory care communities are that whatever songs and music resonates for them is dependent on the time of day. Morning crowd memory care is very different than afternoon memory crowd. Um, Memory care communities, there's something called sundowning. When it gets to be about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, just everybody starts to get a little bit sleepy and a little bit quieter and a little bit reflective. And typically the vibe is very, very low in the afternoon. So I play something that is very, very gentle. I might open with Old Cape Cod, and I'll transition into You Are My Sunshine, and then I'll play Can't Help Falling in Love with You, and then I'll go into I'll See You in My Dreams. Also, with the memory care, slower instrumental songs work well, and I find that I can tell a story over those softer instrumental songs as these residents are listening. I never expect them to applaud as well, although some of them do. Sometimes I'll get a vibe from the room after the first 2 or 3 songs. If I get nothing from them after the songs, that's a good read on how the rest of the show is going to go. Just flow from one song to another. If it's in the same key, you can just keep that key going. I might play Edelweiss, and then in the same key, I'll switch to You Are My Sunshine, and in the same key, I'll switch to Somewhere Over the Rainbow. All one song, and it's like 10 minutes, like those 3 songs. I'm stretching it a bit, and sometimes they sing with me, and sometimes they don't. The familiarity of the song really, really makes a difference. And if you might be getting away playing a song like Harvest Moon for an independent living community, and then you play that same song for a memory care, even though the melody is very, very soft and gentle, nobody's going to be singing with you. You're not going to get that sing-along feeling. And with the memory care, I think the engagement is important. I think the sing-along and even the clapping themselves, if you find them clapping, encourage that. Just emphasize the ending to your song. I sometimes raise my hand up like this after the end of the song, or I'll just play that last chord and I'll strum like this and I'll look to the side, just to give them a cue that, oh, okay, he's done playing, we can clap now. If I get a read from the audience that they want to be entertained, or they want to participate, then I'll start asking them questions or asking them to raise their hand. Like, is anybody here from Pennsylvania? Raise your hand. Is anybody here from Massachusetts? Raise your hand. Who is local? Who lives pretty local and gets visits from family all the time? Raise your hand if you saw your son or daughter earlier this week. This song is about family. I want to know, do you think that they would love this song with you? And raise your hand if you would love this artist. Or some of them don't do anything at all. And I say, raise your hand. Does anyone here have never raised their hand before? And you look around the room, and a lot of times jokes land really well. A lot of times jokes don't land. But if you're having fun with them, this is with all the communities. If you're having fun and you're doing this show and you're having a good time with them and entertaining them along with entertaining yourself, and just creating the whole experience like a visit, the show is going to go really, really well, and you're going to have a lot of fun. Wherever you find yourself, whatever community type you find yourself playing at, always remember that the music and the melodies are doing more than you think for them. You are sharing a part of yourself with them. You are serving them. Go in with an open mind and share with them the music that you love, that makes your heart sing, and that's definitely going to resonate with your audience. Have an awesome show. I wish you the best of luck at your next gig, whether you're performing independent living, assisted, nursing, rehabilitation, or memory care. Every community is going to be happy that you're there. So lead with the heart of love. I'll see you in the next video.